All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my turn at the helm of a lovely game. Welcome everyone once again. Um, so I guess without further ado, we might sort of jump into the opening crawl. So bear with. Okay, yeah. So maybe just to kind of ease us in, maybe if we have a quick intro from each of you about kind of what you've been doing in the last few months, kind of thing, and the fallout of everything that went on Hit Contra, and whether you're sort of dossing around together or separately when the kind of call comes, what you're kind of doing. Maybe if we go with, do you want to go first, Nay?
Okay, here comes the bus.
Yeah.
So, I would imagine Amaya would be staying with her colleagues. After all, she came with them. So, in lieu of striking out on her own or going back home, she'll just hang around with the crew. Um, in terms of what she's been doing, I imagine she's probably been doing a lot of meditation, probably isolating herself quite a bit, and
Soul searching.
a lot of soul searching. If they make dirt side, she might just disappear. Like she's just wants to avoid people at the moment. So I mean, there's not much to her, unfortunately. She's a loose cannon, and she's trying not to get triggered very hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, all right. And I guess I wonder, like, maybe we should hear from Vazia next, like whether you're all aboard Vazia's ship, kind of laying low or
I
elsewhere.
think I think for once the hyperspace beacon has been put in for Varzia, it's business as usual. So whether the people and the crew tag along with her or not, it's just a matter of their choice. So she is, of course, running legitimate cargo and passengers,
Of course. Yeah.
along
Important.
with very special packages.
Yep. Yep. Very good.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's just been what she's doing and trying to keep out of the mess and out of the way who people who may wish to prevent her from breathing.
Why trying to call your nose?
Yes, that's it, exactly. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yep. That's great. Um, and what about Runsly? What's she been up to?
She's sticking with Razia because she enjoys the double nature. So she knows that Buzzy is not all that she seems, and she quite enjoys watching the play between the what's going on underneath and what's on top. And she's also been honing her manipulation skills a little bit.
Ow.
I've still got weak mind.
You
Come on.
stay away.
Just on board ship, manipulating each other. Very
Cheers.
good. Very good. And what about is it Gadriel? Is that how I say it?
Gabriel.
Gadriel. Tell me about Gadriel and how he sort of comes to join the merry crew.
Oh, yeah. Sure. The incidents in his contract have been recalled and sort of sort investigation of the commands and these. Yeah, he has done good things. One, he has started talking from Maya, trying to explain more of the deeper philosophy for not just drinking, letting her drink the Kool-Aid by the gallon. Um, but also, well, he still has interest on what's going on with the New Republic and the Allies. And since this is a consular team, so you know, to see what's happening.
Yeah. No, that's great. Look, let's have Vazia make a streetwise check to sort of show how your legitimate travel arrangements have been going and the profitability or otherwise of those. I think you've taken a bit of a hit given everything that went on Hiquantra, and so your reputation's you're sort of up against it a little bit. So that's going to be reflected in the difficulty. So I think let's have it be against we'll have it 3 purple. Actually, hang on. First, we should do the pool, shouldn't we? Roll for the destiny pool. Let's do that.
Looks like 2 light, 2 darks.
2 light, 2 dark. Very good. Yeah, so let's have it against I think it's initially a difficult task, but I think because of the impact on your reputation, it's kind of upgrading one of those purples to a red to sort of show that you've taken a bit of a reputational hit, as well as I think 2 black as you're operating fairly far out on the edge. So it's a relatively tough roll.
1 black because I am street smart.
Take 1 off. Yep. You can weather some storms. That's good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I can't. Not with 3 failures, I can't.
Not with 3 failures. No. So you've been doing your best to make ends meet, but it's sort of a few months on, and actually it's getting pretty hard to keep up the maintenance on the ship and get enough whatever they're called, power cells or whatever the kind of suitable MacGuffin is for fuel in this system. So you're sort of pretty hard up, and you're starting to sort of think, well, I wonder what kind of jobs there might be out there that kind of could make things work. You're also, I think, all of you, even though you have had these kind of consular connections previously, have been a little bit sort of out in the dark a little bit again in the aftermath, and so you haven't had a lot of work on that side of things as well. You sort of just been existing on the fringes a little bit. And so I guess when the call comes, you've got to get a kind of hail on your communicator that this fellow Quan Toxis wants to speak to you. Not someone you've dealt with before, but you have kind of heard of the name before. He's a sort of fairly kind of ambiguous kind of type sort of operator in the underworld, sort of Aqualish kind of, I guess almost you could say like a fixer kind of thing. Like he kind of gets jobs for people and, no questions asked. And you sort of get him hailing through to Vazia and the crew to kind of, offer you a job if you're interested.
Work has been a little scarce.
Yeah, it could be fun and profitable.
Hope it won't go too against your sensibilities, dear Amaya.
Well,
We don't know what the offer is yet. Let's find out.
Well, he does
Yeah.
have something of a reputation of sort.
Hey, speak for the stiff one, okay? I'm just the new guy. But we don't need the Kretz cap. That those coplings are going to give way any day, and getting towed out is not cheap.
Absolutely.
My baby does need maintenance.
Yeah.
There is some people that we could pick up some jobs. Like freelancing, or perhaps we should listen what this guy has to say. I mean,
yeah.
you look like very competent people.
Yeah. Okay. So look, you end up, sounds like on balance, you decide to talk to Quan and see what he's got to offer. Hey. So gathering around the kind of holographic display, this kind of somewhat grainy, head sort of appears, sort of fluffy looking fella with this kind of odd wet sort of mouth thing, as if you can picture what an Aqualish looks like. And he sort of grunts along in his dialect, kind of rob, 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 rob kind of thing. But the converter kind of works to translate it over into basic. And he sort of says, "Look, I've got a job for you that I think not only could be quite lucrative, but depending how you play it, it could sort of get you back into the good graces of the New Republic. If you can kind of take this on, it's a fairly I'm not going to lie, fairly dangerous kind of proposition, but definitely the rewards are worthwhile if you're interested. You may have sort of heard that various rumors about things going on in the unknown regions, but you might not have heard that there's a sort of particularly treacherous sort of space lane that leads out into the Uvori space and eventually ends up at a fairly unknown, fairly desolate kind of dark corner of the galaxy called the Umbral Desolation. And look, it's been known for a while. Even back in the Old Republic, it was known, and there were sort of certain companies that sort of traveled through this fairly delicate hyperspace lane to kind of bring back valuable artifacts that have been pretty interesting to kind of those in powerful places. Certainly, there was a lot of interest during the Imperial times, and look, the flow has sort of slowed down to almost a stop in recent years, and the New Republic, I think, would certainly be interested in having that resume. And I think various agents have kind of gone out there to try and keep this flow of these artifacts coming through, but none have been more successful than a certain Mandalorian known as Dark Aegis, who was really pressed deep into these regions and set up a station in the Umbral Desolation that's been responsible for much wealth flowing until a few months ago. And so I guess
what the mission is to travel out there and see what might have gone wrong and see if we can, get the wheels flowing again so the prophet can resume.
The Dark Ages eliminated the competition. Is that what we're suspecting, or what you're suspecting?
Well, it's a bit of a more difficult situation out there. So this sort of space, the various systems along the route are populated by the Evori, who are look. I'm not going to lie, I don't really understand them particularly well. They're a sort of somewhat enigmatic species who kind of live by their own ways, and they, as I understand it, there's different factions amongst them, and most outsiders have had some success, whether it's through brute force or attempting trade with them, but it's been limited, and it's only really Dark Ages that's managed to, had a long and sustained period of several years of quite a significant supply of these artifacts coming out. We don't really know how he did it. There's all sorts of rumors, but he's certainly been more successful than most up until recently when things have gone quiet from his end.
Curious.
So are these artifacts Evorian in origin?
That's a good question. Look, I'm by no means an archaeologist. I know that they're valuable. They have a very number of applications, whether it's from energy generation to weapons development, and also the sort of mysterious, he sort of says so-called force, if you believe in that sort of thing. A lot of people have had interest in them. Are they there? Do they predate the Evori? Maybe, maybe not. We're not really sure.
Certainly sounds intriguing. Give us something to do.
Say we do run into this Mandalorian. I assume that if he is not in some kind of trouble, he will perhaps not be so happy to see us.
Again, it's hard to say. He hasn't responded to any attempts to communicate him. They've been, look, you're not the first expedition that's gone out to look for him, but you would be the first to return. So we don't really know what kind of state he's in.
Okay.
Are we looking for Dark Ages, or are we looking for their artifacts?
Look, I think with the companies, that have handled this certainly want to know, the parties interested want to know the fate of Dark Ages, if anything, if possible, if he can be restored to his former status and resume the flow. But most importantly is that we sort of, can, if possible, if there are still any source remaining, regain access to these, they're called Ethereum shards, sort of crystalline fragments that, have these powerful residual energies in them. That'd be the biggest interest to us. So both are important.
Okay.
Well, and shall we be a little gauche and talk payment?
Look, I expect nothing less. I'm trying to think of. I don't know if we have like a ballpark, number of like what is it or isn't, but I think he sort of names a number, and it's really quite impressive. It'll definitely get you out of your various shipping woes and be sort of comfortable beyond. And there's the added sort of carrot, I think, that it's definitely something that certainly the Empire, but also the New Republic, we're interested in. So there is a sort of political leverage if you can kind of get this happening again, that would be helpful to you with that in that sense too, if that's more your motivator than hard coin. He says, not everybody's interested in the same things.
It's your ship, Vazir.
I am willing.
Sure. Yeah, look, if it turns out to be more than what the brief is, we can always just hyperdrive back into civilization and just pick up regular cargo, like
I hope so.
Joe Blow.
Yeah, look, he says on the topic of hyperdriving back, look, the route as we know it is a sort of series of jumps through, again, fairly complicated hyperspace anomalies that, again, you probably require you'll have to liaise with some of the people on the ground to kind of learn a bit more. I can only give you the directions to the first outpost, and then you'll have to sort of explore and understand the way there. There's a fairly, I guess there's rumor there's a fairly known path, but it's been prone to all sorts of disruptions and problems. So Luminara's Embrace is the sort of name of the kind of station at the edge of this kind of area. Jumps to and from Luminara's Embrace are able to be calculated from most anywhere, but beyond there you sort of have to follow the path in and out or risk catastrophic disintegration.
Yeah.
Sounds dangerous.
Rather, yeah.
No, the thing about catastrophic disintegration is you don't know.
Indeed.
Are there any clues to why it's called Luminara's Embrace?
Are there any, sorry?
Like, is there any history behind why it's called Luminara's Embrace?
He says, he's heard that it's something to do with the appearance of the nearby nebula in that area, but he's not been there himself.
Oh, okay. So he can't give us any first-hand information.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Do you know anyone who has been there?
Yeah, not that's returned recently. So yeah, he can't really help you there.
Oh, well.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Job.
Let's go.
Maybe does anyone have any preparations you want to do before heading out, or anything you need to get ready, or are you ready to all set off?
I don't think so.
Yeah, sort of been preparing for a while, I suppose.
Yeah, mentally preparing yourself to get back in the
Message,
game.
to my patron, being like, what interests do you have in this area?
Yep.
What should I be looking for? The usual.
Us, yeah.
Yep. Look, I think they get back to you and all they say is, look, if you come back with something, we'll better any offer that any other contact has for, anything you can bring back if you return.
Yeah. Right.
It sounds like you're ready to set off.
I would reach out to connections and try to find out what's the story behind the Ivorian and the whole apparent blockade of trade that is there, or what is the problem with the natives?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, give us a knowledge outer rim roll. Actually, maybe we'll do two rolls. So we'll do an outer rim for knowledge about the blockade and the nature of the hyperspace anomaly, and then you can do a xenology roll to see if you know anything about the Avoria as well.
Okay. Difficulty?
Both, I think, are going to be. I think for the first is going to be 3 purple. The second is going to be 4 purple because the species are quite obscure.
Purple. Okay. So this is the this outer rim.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So 2 successes and 3 threats. 3 threats is interesting. Hey, I have to think about what that means. You kind of what you've heard, what you can kind of dig up and what you can hear, sort of asking around, maybe looking at whatever sources you can find on the whatever it's called, galactic equivalent of the internet. I'm sure there's a better name for it. Um, um, that it's sort of something akin in terms of danger, but certainly not as well known as the kind of Kessel Run. So it's kind of quite a series of kind of quite difficult hyperspace anomalies, passing through a number of quite a difficult lane that hasn't been, there's not, people have looked for a clearer route, but they've never been able to find one. And there's sort of various, I think a lot of the detail isn't super well known, but I guess you do sort of hear that around Luminara's embrace is particularly related to these things that are called the observatory wraiths that are, it sort of sounds a bit sort of spooky, but they're sort of like large, almost sort of the size of moons sort of types of entities that maybe a sort of quasi-sentient that seem to sort of, make it difficult to navigate through the area depending on how you approach them.
Okay.
And you gather that there's further obstacles beyond, but it doesn't really go much more than sort of, the kinds of rumors that you kind of hear all aboard, in taverns with where space is frequent kind of thing. It doesn't give you much more kind of hang your hat on.
Is it somewhat deliberate, would you think, to keep those shipping lanes quiet and impassable? Like make a mystique around it, and people go, too hard, too difficult. Let's not.
I think it's not so much that. I think it's 2 things. One is it's just very dangerous in its own right. Like, it is quite a dangerous area to travel through. And the other is it's, as you'd probably be aware if you're kind of aware of the history of hyperspacing lanes, is that over time people find and learn to understand more navigable, safe pathways, and that's mainly what you use when you're traveling through the core and even in the outer rim. And that those lanes just aren't really known out in this area because it's sort of
so new,
beyond the edge of where anyone ever really normally goes, out the sort of dark edge of the galaxy. Yeah. So it's not so much deliberate as much as it's sort of pretty obscure out there and dangerous, yeah. In terms of the 3 threat, I think, tell me, in terms of how you gather that information, how do you go about it? Like, what's the kind of, what channels are you using?
Well, so information as in the databases will only get you so far. So what Gadriel King would do is one of his specializations is a sleeper agent. So he's used to work with human intelligence. So he knows who would know, or somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and just backtracking for that. And that involves him talking with the less desirable population, the ones that take greater care in keeping secrets and not divulging information that potentially may be valuable to some parties.
Yep. Okay.
I think that's where the threats come in play.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what you you gather this information then, but you sort of, part of the reason you don't go further into it and get more information is you sort of, at the corner of your eye, you think you see somebody that that you remember sort of crossing paths with during the Imperial days. You don't know, there's a sort of a doubt. Is it paranoia? Did you really see them or did you not? But it's enough that you actually don't want to hang around and you kind of get out of there before you can confirm. Sort of a fairly nasty association with somebody that, Imperial intelligence type sort of character that you wouldn't want to cross paths with back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it really there or is it paranoia? You're not sure.
Yeah. Oh, look, trust your instincts, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
Sometimes it's better just to cash in your chips and go for a walk.
Absolutely. Now, if someone wants to look into the Evori themselves and make a roll for that, it'll be
The Xenology.
4 purple on Xenology.
Rough. 4 purples, and I am going to flip a die.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. And again, looking in a similar way, like kind of asking around for contacts, that kind of thing, or looking on databases, or how do you go about it?
Same thing. I mean, well, the intel seems to have dried up in this bar, so I'll go to the other dodgy bar that I know that deals with this sector of hyperspace laners. And then rinse and repeat, talking to people. So what's the deal with these people, Etorians? They have spooky stuff and it costs money. And how do you get into that? What do you know of these guys? Blah, 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 blah. Let me buy you a drink.
Yeah. So you kind of have a bit of a drink. With a guy called Draxmar, who's a sort of, Mon Calamari data analyst. And he, in his time, is a sort of fairly brilliant scientist who kind of, was instrumental in the rebellion. And so he kind of knows a lot about all these different sort of odd species and stuff around. And he sort of starts to go into a whole lot of detail. And I guess distilling it out, because you sit there with him for a while, is it, I think the things that stand out, the Yavori are a strikingly beautiful humanoid species, but also that it kind of have a reputation of beauty being a sort of the other side of the coin to brutality, that they kind of have a very a culture that's quite kind of hard to understand and can be quite arbitrary and brutal to the outsider. You kind of learn that they've got a sort of fairly sort of ethereal, almost kind of ghostly sort of appearance to them at times. A little bit taller than humans, and sort of skin that ranges from violet and teal to a kind of deep indigo color. You don't learn a lot about their customs in detail because just there isn't a lot known, but there is something about that they have various ritualistic face markings that symbolize various things like milestones and achievements in life, status, proper forms of address, and so on. And it's sort of thought that understanding or not understanding these is pretty important to whether you can make any headway with these people or not.
Okay, make a mental note of that one.
Yeah. The other thing though that he sort of says is look, as you sort of getting to the end of things, he sort of says, look, I don't want to scare you, but I've heard that I've heard word that Sylar Vox has been around these parts. He might even be looking for you. I'd watch my back if I were you.
Who?
Sylar Vox.
Sylar Vox.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Why would they be looking for me?
Well, yeah, I don't know. That's what I heard. I wouldn't want to cross paths with them if I were you. The name for you rings a bell so this is a former Imperial intelligence operative that now sort of works freelance as a mercenary. Certainly not a great person to kind of have, nosing around after you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you get the sense that maybe the time you've spent, hanging around in bars and asking questions has stirred up some notice there for whatever reason. So yeah, certainly Drax is like, you might want to, keep an eye on your tail.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a good thing that we're leaving for New Corellia in the morning. Wink.
He says, he's a tap on the nose, indeed.
throws a couple of creds on the bar, makes its way back to the ship.
Yep. All right. Anyone else got any preparations they want to do in advance of setting out? Yeah. So look, I think fueling up with almost like your last kind of trip worth of fuel, kind of ready to go out on another run out there. Given that things are a bit bare bones, you make the jump to hyperspace, and heading off to these coordinates, as you were kind of suggested to by Quan, and you kind of arrive. You come out of hyperspace to this kind of not too far away is this kind of space station that's kind of floating in front of this kind of almost nestled in the folds of this kind of mesmerizing nebula. You can see the space station is kind of built around these kind of floating sort of asteroid islands. And there's just this kind of waves of kind of, almost kind of blue-green kind of light coming off of this kind of anomaly all around it. And you can sort of see that it's a sort of fairly well-frequented station. There's kind of probably a fair number of sort of ships kind of docked there. The other thing that's kind of striking though is kind of probably I don't know, not too far away, but I guess you can tell from the distance. Actually, maybe let's have Vazi sort of make a kind of computer's roll to kind of like work out the distance. You can see a sort of ship off in the distance that's kind of firing sort of into the nebula kind of thing.
Standard difficulty?
Yeah, just against 2 purple. Yep, that's right. So computer's roll.
2 successes, but a threat as well.
Yeah, okay. So I think in terms of the threat, maybe it sort of strains your ship's sensors, just scanning this whole thing. So, the ship takes a point of strain. But you can actually see it looks actually like it's not very far away, but you realize that it's because actually this is quite a large ship. This is quite a large sort of New Republic, battle cruiser class sort of ship that's there just kind of apparently firing off into this kind of nebula, with fairly heavy ordnance. It's not immediately clear what they're firing at, but they're sort of, really going at it. The ships at the station don't appear to be sort of panicking or reacting. Make of that what you will, I guess.
Mm.
How are they doing?
Through the proper niceties of hailing the station and requesting to dock.
Yeah, absolutely. So they say this is, Celestial Sanctuary, giving you permission to dock at Base 17 on the ventral side, transmitting your coordinates to come in now, follow the pilot instructions, and you'll be aboard shortly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you come in and land, and immediately as the sort of airlock cycles, fairly sort of standard docking bay, but beyond that, you can see fairly busy. Like there's a lot of different, certainly not as kind of human dominated as many other kind of areas are. There's kind of a pretty diverse mix of different species kind of milling around. And occasionally sort of, no one really nearby, but sort of in the distance, you'll see one of these beings that you think might be one of the Evori kind of making their way around. You can see there's a sort of, map sort of saying, oh, you can go down to the kind of docks, cargo district. Otherwise, there's sort of the kind of the bars and whatnot beyond. And then there's this sort of the company station, sort of says, Celestial Sanctuary Station, headquarters kind of thing that you can go to if you choose. So I guess you sort of probably need to work out how you might proceed, or even where you're meant to proceed to from here. So Corn hasn't really given you any contacts per se, so you'll have to sort of negotiate that for yourselves.
Perhaps a bar to see if we can find a local guide.
Bar
Local guide, yeah.
frequented by pilots.
Pilots, not
Yeah.
pirates.
Pilots, not what? Sorry.
Pirates.
No,
Not pirates.
pilots. No pirates here. Pilots.
Good that you clarified that.
Are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
sure? Are you sure?
Yes. Unless we're flying the Jolly Roger all of a sudden.
Sort of,
Alright.
just duck out of the, drag a Maya out of the entry to the pirate bar and kind of, head on.
Just send her to the kids' playground,
Yes.
And you find a place that has a sort of picture of a kind of peculiar beast kind of on fire, and the kind of text in basic underneath says the flaming gun dark. It's the
Oh,
name,
nice.
name of the bar. But it seems to have the kind of right clientele kind of coming and going. It looks like, spaces one and all, which mostly seems like it is generally the clientele here on the station, like, other than these kind of glimpses of these other kind of Evori and so on that you see around. But this bar's, very much pilots and so on. Yeah. How do you go about finding a guide? What's your approach?
First step is always to make nice with the bartender.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vazia will go up and a most charming smile and say, "And what do you recommend?"
Yeah. So there's a guy there, kind of like, polishing glasses, kind of, human guy, large sort of dark colored mutton chops. And he's like, what can I get for you? What do you like? What's your poison?
What do you recommend?
Well, I mean, we've got blue milk if you, want to have a light evening, but we've got anything, all sorts of spice and other more exotic delights if you prefer that. Regulations being what they are, they don't apply so much out here.
How about you pour 2 of your favorite?
Yep.
I shall have one and you shall have
Oh, well, I am working, but why not? Yeah, so he sort of like pours you out this kind of tall kind of blue drink with a, kind of foam, steam coming off the top of it, and a, curly straw. This,
one. Does match my hue perfectly.
bottoms up.
Bottoms up.
Yeah. While that's kind of going on, while you're sort of, flirting, while Vazia's flirting with the bartender, are you all there as well? You're headed down together?
Yeah.
Probably. I think that would be the wisest course of action.
You could make a sort of streetwise roll to sort of, see if there's anybody around the bar that looks like they might be worth approaching beyond the bartender themselves. You could also use perception as well, potentially, if you wanted to.
Ooh, succeeded. 3 successes and 1 advantage.
2 successes, 1 threat for me.
Oh, okay. Everyone's got, and they've got a triumph for Gadriel. Yeah, very good. Okay. So I think what you notice, is you sort of see there's a kind of, sitting there for a while, kind of just laying low while Vazi is talking to the bartender. You notice a couple of things. One is that the bartender is, quite smooth and charming, but, relatively professional and not really someone who's kind of, giving out information. They're kind of just there to do what they're doing. You also notice that there's a kind of over in the corner, there's a Twi'lek, gentleman who has got a sort of dusky orange sort of skin tone, who, seems to be meeting with various people who sort of come and go kind of thing, like, and, seems to, spend 5 minutes or so, some sort of exchange goes on and then they leave. You get the impression that this is probably someone who, deals with information and is worth approaching. And any ideas for your triumph, Miguel? Anything you're wanting for that particularly? Obviously, that's a particularly good result. So, if there's any ideas,
Probably allows to pinpoint who are the movers and shakers of the local mafia here, since it's streetwise.
Yeah. I think what you notice is that really, I think what you notice there's a few kind of, it looks like kind of gang-like factions, but also you get the sense that things aren't super developed in that regard here, because there is this kind of company that's sort of somewhat kind of keeping the peace here, that's sort of involved in this trade out of this lanes kind of thing. So yeah, it's not sort of like completely underworld got the claws in, so there's not a lot of dangers in that regard. So yeah. Probably, I mean, maybe the other thing is you probably have vaguely heard of this guy. So he's called Voska Trill. You've probably heard of the name elsewhere, and you sort of maybe a little surprised to see him out here. But I'll say also for your triumph, you've kind of come across, well, heard of this character in the underworld sort of thing before as an information broker. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just having my drink on the bar.
Yep.
We've identified the Twi'lek as well, didn't we?
Yes, you have. Yep.
Screw it. I'm just gonna bold as brass walk up to him.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah. He sort of looks up at you, and maybe he's a little bit sort of taken aback first at your appearance, like it's sort of like, my lord. It's sort of,
Rude.
It's very hard to say that she's partly robotic. It's hidden.
Well, it's just like
for that
it's more of a vibe. Yeah. And then he sort of like, gets his call back and he says, how may I help you, madam?
Is this seat taken?
Just please be my guest.
Thank you.
Get real elbows, Barcy, and like, Captain, your friend is about to blow it.
Again.
Fazia will turn around and go, oh dear.
Yes, I am.
Oh, sorry.
But it's fine. Amaya looks at him and very thoughtfully. I hear you're the gentleman who's kind of got their finger on a lot of pulses.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. Why? Who wants to know?
Media. Hi.
Media. Interesting.
Oh, like everyone in the galaxy needs to know what's going on here. This is the new frontier, right?
I think most people in the galaxy don't even know that this place exists, so I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Well, everything starts...
give me a persuasion check against 2 red, 2 purple.
What? Last time I did this, it didn't end well. Oh god.
It's an opposed check against his
2 red, 2 purple.
vigilance, or oh, it's probably more deception because you're not from the media, so
Hey, but this is a great thing. No one expects the media to be honest. So is it a double? One failure, but one advantage.
Okay, so he's like, let's be honest, you're not from the media, but I admire your spunk for trying to cover your tracks when you're out here in unknown territory. So I'll let you off for the little white lie there. What really brings you here? What are you looking for? You're looking for something. Look, ultimately, everybody who comes here, mostly they're looking for a couple of things. Either they're looking to get their hands on the Ethereum shards, or they're looking for a way on to the Singing Veil. I think you're either after one or the other.
And what do you tell them?
Well, I tell them that information doesn't come cheap. And, you scratch my back and I scratch yours, as they say.
What sort of back scratching goes on in this place?
Well, what have you got to offer? Credits are the most expedient thing that, opens doors. But for those that are not in the possession of such, there might be other ways.
Offer him your body.
He couldn't handle it.
What's left of it? Yeah.
It has a 24 amp adapter.
Oh, so too soon. Thank God that was out of character. So I can't speak for myself. I am not the only person involved here, but maybe we can come to some sort of agreement.
Okay. Well, look, if you haven't got credits, which I'm guessing you're not from the way you're hedging around the issue, you would have put something down on the table by now if you had anything to offer. Then the next best thing is information. And it's always good to have somebody who's got a plausibly deniable reason to be looking for the information rather than looking for it myself. So that might be where you could be useful to me. Yeah, and look, I think it could be directly helpful to you as well. There's you may be aware, you may not be aware. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how new you are here, but the kind of the route that goes beyond heading to the Umbral Desolation, the next step is passes through a place called the Singing Veil, before reaching the Harmonic Echo Station. And the only way to really go there is by convoy with the company when they next head out. And getting a spot in the convoy is
Troublesome.
Troublesome. Yeah. I mean, certain people might say they've got their own merit, but there are other factors that might help you to be on that list. Let's just say I might have such information. And there's a particular character who captain whose ship is due to head out in the next kind of group that I believe has some information stored in a data vault aboard his ship that would be particularly both useful to me, but also I think he'd be reluctant to leave if, having lost this information, he'd probably want to stay behind and a space could open up. Of course, the fellow's name's Crack Talker, and he's a rather ornery Wookiee who, isn't to be crossed. So, I wish you luck in extracting the information, however you see fit.
When's that convoy due to leave?
So it leaves in 3 standard days.
Not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time.
I'll look over my shoulder and give Vazir the eyes. Because I can feel her glare burning into the back of my head.
Glaring, she's looking at you with this bemused. Don't fuck this up, darling.
Trying really hard not to.
He says, look, otherwise, of course, if you can come up with 40,000 credits, that might be easier.
think I'd rather arm wrestle the Wookiee.
Different people find different things easier to achieve. I'm sure you know your resources.
You here all the time?
I'll be here, but don't wait too long. Opportunity won't last forever.
3 days, apparently.
Indeed.
And your name?
Yeah, the name is Voskatrill,
Voska.
information broker.
That's
If
right.
you need to know it, I'm the one to talk to. Nothing comes cheap, of course.
Never does. Pleasure doing business with you.
Indeed. Pleasure to meet you, Amaya.
She just gets up and walks away. And I will head to Vazia, because it's not like they're a secret. They've all come on the same ship. He'll find that in 2 seconds flat.
Yep, indeed. Yep.
If he doesn't already know it. And I'm going to convey the information to Vazir and Gadriel and Franze.
Well done, dear.
Seems surprised.
Right. So much as his thought would usually have stabbed you if anyone else had tried that. Perhaps your naivety does have its uses.
Maybe something off you.
On a side note, actually, for Vazi, give me a resilience check against 2 purple, 2 black.
Oh,
Ooh,
Yeah.
too far, a threat.
The drink's rather stronger than he used to. This, not merely alcohol in this. They sort of like to like to play it wild out here. You're feeling?
So she's turning a little purple instead of blue.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all gone to your head.
I think we better get you back home. I'll escort Vazia back to the ship where she can not get us into trouble.
Right. Everyone rendezvousing back on the ship.
Yeah, for the time being.
Yeah.
Have to plan a heist.
yes. Oh, yes. Heist.
Actually, as you're going back, let's have Gadriel make a vigilance check. Let me just work out the difficulty. Yeah, it'll be against 2 red, 1 purple.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Oh, 2 failures, but 1 triumph.
Right.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, that's hard to work out some of these ones, isn't it? So yeah, you're kind of making your way back, and don't spot anyone following you. All seems pretty fine. What you do sort of think along the way though is
Not really sure, because
I'm thinking, okay, maybe what you do spot, I don't know, maybe there's just a little bit of an edge of paranoia, but you do spot that there's a sort of couple of kind of down and out kind of urchin types kind of hanging around near the docking thing looking for credits. And for whatever reason, your instinct tells you to sort of like throw them a couple of credits and get in touch if anyone's following as a kind of, backup plan in case you don't notice anybody coming. Yeah. And so we'll say there's a kind of kid called Dash who's there who happily takes a couple of coins and we'll keep an eye out for you.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Grab bars, yeah. Like, all right, Cap, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you're back on the ship.
Oh, for a human.
All right. So yeah, you don't really know much more than just the name of this correct talker.
Yeah.
This Wookiee captain. Yeah.
start interrogating the station's databases. Public information shouldn't be behind
Yep.
any wall.
Yeah. You start to look around, and your sort of initial search sort of shows that it is a little bit more secretive than your average kind of terminal kind of thing. Like they aren't kind of just letting anybody see, like, you know, arrivals and departures without kind of going through the company headquarters. So you can either try and approach them directly or try and access it, but you're going to have to sort of slice your way into it with, you know, some risk, I suppose, if you're caught doing it, that might draw attention.
And have not those skills. Does anyone else? Who is sober and can drive?
And say,
You, I think, would be rolling against 3 purple and 2 black.
Gadriel does one thing before starting running queries. Says to Amaya, give me your chain link code.
I will. But I'm looking at him quizzically. Why?
He slices it, and then he starts punching code. I thought that after he contra, you would have learned a thing or two.
Max him on the back of the head.
hey, not bad.
1 success, 2 advantages.
Yeah,
Nice.
very good. Okay. Yeah, so you get into the system. You find that on the kind of dorsal docking bay, out on a sort of, what's the word? Sort of like a bit of a more distant sort of stem, I suppose, kind of sticking off the station, is this ship called the Gregos Folly, which is registered as being captained by Crack Talker. You see that it's a freighter, you know, kind of medium-sized sort of freighter. And in terms of it's sort of listed as bringing you know, food and fuel from the sort of, you know, from an inner system kind of into the station, and doesn't have any other sort of specific cargo details listed, you know, outbound or anything yet. It has got a sort of planned flight departure of about 3 days' time, joining this convoy.
There's something on that ship that we need to gain access to.
So what, you want to go and steal the hyperdrive memory?
Well, if we want to get onto that convoy.
You really do know how to make friends, don't you?
It's a gift.
I wouldn't call it that.
Go on, Gadriel. Paul sent us here for a reason.
Money.
Alternative, of course, if we could simply ask.
Yes.
Yeah, that could work. There's a lot of approaches you could use.
Yeah. Pose as an engineer, gain access, or a data analyst. Dump a virus into their system, fix it up, gain access to that section of database. There are ways and means. We just need to plan something out and go for it.
Well, how do we know they're not looking for somebody to join the convoy? Like, do we have to get in by a sneaky means?
No. If we can get a legitimate space in the convoy, that's fine, but I don't know. Is that something you want to follow up?
Yeah.
Something else.
Basia, how good of a pilot are you?
Okay.
Without the false modesty. How good of a pilot are you?
2 yellow and a green.
Okay. let's say in the hypotheticals that we don't want to embrace a suicidal mission, as our young friend suggests, and we use delicate touch, and we get someone enrolled as part of the crew, because somebody from the standard crew had an unfortunate accident on the way to the toilet or back or in the bar or in a cat house, who knows? And we put this person with an air tag on the ship. You feel comfortable enough to tag behind and shadow the tag? Can you do it?
Certainly try. But first, it might be worth visiting the company offices and seeing if perhaps their roster for the convoy is not so full after all.
Yeah. I would rather at this stage not start upsetting people. I mean, it's a gift, right?
Start out on the right foot.
Darling, I never upset people.
Toss.
All right, let's go to the company offices first.
All right, so we've got go to the company offices, maybe try and infiltrate Craig Talker's crew and get somebody on board and follow, or another plan, hey?
Yeah. Plan
All
A,
right.
plan B, plan C.
Yeah.
So I think in the company offices, Vazia will take the approach that they have been hired to deliver something, and she's not confident in this region of space, and take pity on this poor, struggling, lovely, legitimate business person and let them tag along with the convoy because she's just so lovely and sweet and completely and utterly legitimate.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. So you're all going along to kind of head to the company offices?
No, I'll stay behind, just providing overwatch.
Yep.
And keeping an eye, see that goes as planned as possible. Yep.
Okay. All right, so we've got Vazia and Runsai going, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, you make your way through the station. You see the crowd sort of thin out a little bit, and you get to this kind of corporate kind of office area that's sort of set up sort of in the sort of central part of the station. It's sort of otherwise pretty kind of unremarkable. Nothing else kind of really stands out about it. And you sort of see that you see the name of the company, which you sort of heard, previously from Quan, but Ethereum Prospects is the kind of the name, emblazoned across the kind of entryway. You get there and you can see that there's a kind of, fairly small office, really. There's a kind of receptionist who kind of directs you to sort of sit and wait, but it's not too long before you're brought to see the kind of head of the station, who's a Mirialan called Zalara Ember. And she sort of looks up and she says, look, pretty quickly she gets to the point, look, don't waste any of my time. I gather you're probably going to be here trying to, grub your way onto the next, next expedition. Look, it really is much more dangerous than most of you folk realize. And we've carefully chosen the next expedition. So, you're welcome to, try and get on the next one in the next, month or so. But I don't know there's going to be much that we can do unless you've, got any particular reason to be bothering me with this.
Just hired to deliver something, and well, I'm afraid
Oh, okay. I'll, where's the package? I'll sign for it.
need the work. I do have to deliver it to its specified owner, I'm afraid. But
Yes.
Right. So what who are you delivering to? What are you delivering to?
was a told to look for a dark armored man.
At this, she sort of grins and she says, very good. Many ploys that people come here, seeking dark ages. Look, if I could get in contact with a fellow myself, I'd be the first to let you know how to do so. Haven't heard anything from him in a long time. Really, all you kind of prospectors that come here, you really don't understand the level of danger that you're in here looking into this. We're well aware of the vast, potential rewards here, but it's not. It's not like dropping off a package down the post office.
Oh, I am well aware, but as I said, I was hired to deliver something. Not entirely sure what it is. I was told it was of value to the man, and it was to get to him.
Well, again, you'd be welcome to approach, one of the ships that are on the next expedition if you feel it's urgent. Otherwise, you'll have to wait in line like everybody else. They might be able to carry it on for you for a small fee.
There is nothing at all you can do?
She sort of says, again, I don't know why all you people bother me with this kind of thing. What do you expect? Doesn't seem to have a lot to
Run the
offer.
show, darling. Okay, then. She's not going to be charmed at all.
Yeah. I think if anything, she's really at pains to sort of outline that the danger and that I think it's hard for people from the core to sort of understand, she says, but to really understand just how dark it is out there. If anything, it's getting darker and it's a very dangerous place.
Well, that is why I do not want to go alone.
Yes, we do.
Indeed. It would be foolhardy indeed to head on alone, although you wouldn't be the first.
We are wondering if there are others who are going the same way.
Other than the convoy. Well, she says there'll be another convoy in a month's time. Assuming that this one doesn't meet with disaster or similar, we'll have to assess.
This convoy is full.
Indeed.
So these convoys meet disaster often?
It's certainly been known to happen. The heading into the second station mostly goes, according to plan. Mostly. We certainly haven't heard anything back from Dark Aegis or anyone at the
convoys return
further station in a long time. Again, depending on where they travel to, they do return, depending on where they travel to.
Well, if he does appear, or if you do have news of him, of course, can you tell him that there is a parcel waiting for him?
She laughs and she says, look, there'll be many people interested to hear from him if he does appear. But I'll certainly add you to the long list.
Well.
She says, otherwise I'll thank you to leave me to my work. I've got lots to do.
Of course.
Plan B.
Well,
NC.
can we obtain the convoy list?
How do you want to go about that? She doesn't give it to you, kind of thing. Yeah.
No,
How do you want to go about it?
possible to steal it?
Yeah, where from? Like off her desk, like a post-it note or something.
Is she particularly weak-minded?
Straight for the
don't
mind
know.
spike.
Okay. So yeah, you can do that then. If you can make a, I don't know, how do you approach trying to convince her? Like, what sort of, are you trying to charm her? Like, please give us the list, or are you trying to trick her into giving you the list?
Trick her.
Trick,
Maybe
trick her.
charm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Okay. So charm, you think, like, please, can you give us a list so we can at least approach the ships and see if they can help us out or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've had a lot of these kinds of approaches before, so you're rolling up against 3 red. But you can roll your force die and add that, depending on. So you start off with 3 purple and upgrade them to 3 red instead.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, too,
Okay.
Oh, no.
oh, too fast.
Fails.
Two
What advantage?
advantages.
But a lot.
Yeah.
I should have flipped a die. Damn it.
Well, and you didn't get any despairs on 3 reds, so that's something.
That is something.
So she sort of just gives you this withering look and is like, please, I'm very busy. Please leave my office. But I think for the 3 advantage, I think probably what you do here is that on your way out, the receptionist sort of like takes pity on you and sort of says, look, the station news bulletin has a sort of list of, the convoy ships, as a standard, thing that anyone can read easily. It's well known.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and so again, it's a sort of a list of about 10 ships. Again, you can see that the Gregos Folly's on there, as well as a number of others.
Right. And will we be able to find out the crews of each ship?
The crews. What do you want to know about the crews? Like how many are on each ship, or like?
Yeah, like who they are.
Yes, I mean, I don't actually know the details of every crew extensively of all the ships, but yes. I haven't done that level of deep preparation to name every single person on the station. And
right. Yeah, well, you're a busy person. That's all right.
Yeah. But you get it. Yeah, you get a general. Certainly, the captain and the kind of class of the ship and size of it. They're all sort of relatively kind of in that sort of more freighter classes, not like any big capital ship type ships heading out.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like it's that kind of operation.
No.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Welcome.
So plan B.
Buzzy is just gonna link her arm with Runzai and go, so how many crew members do you think we'll have to incapacitate?
It's possible we could vanish a whole ship. Possible?
Oh shit.
Let's replace it with ours. That's all I'm thinking.
More of like knocking out a whole bunch of crewmen and sticking them in a storage
Yeah. As long as they're all wearing red t-shirts.
disappearing an entire ship.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you don't want to risk your baby. Do we? All right.
How
Let's-
many
let's-
crew members can you leave handcuffed to hotel beds with no clothes on? You know, just standard operation.
Before it becomes too suspicious. Yes, indeed.
So I think your Twi'lek contact had suggested that you could get this data and basically replace your ship on the list. But you're thinking maybe instead you want to sort of gradually whittle down the crews of other ships and get hired on board. Is that what I'm hearing?
I was thinking of replacing the ship, but apparently Vazier thinks that's too hard.
One always wants cannon fodder, darling.
Kind of like the chaos of your idea.
But anyway, we'll make our way back to the ship.
Yeah. All right. Look, meanwhile, I suppose in the meantime, back on board the ship, Gedril, you kind of have this this kind of urchin Dash kind of appear. And he sort of says to you, look, I don't know if it's relevant, but there've been a couple of these kind of odd looking kind of black droids kind of, coming and going. I haven't seen around these parts before. 2 or 3 of them.
Black droids.
Yeah. Sort of he's not a real expert on robotics, but it's not a sort of standard class of droid that you see around here, He sort of paints them out as fairly menacing and, just hanging around the area, coming and going.
Bounty hunters?
Not that he's aware, but they seem, they're droids of some sort.
He sketches an ID-88 head. Like these heads?
No, none of that. No.
Interesting. Hey Dash, I have a question. Let's say that you get me a very potent laxative, theoretically, and you slip it into a couple of people from the crew of this vessel.
Gregor's fully, yep.
Yeah, Gregor's fully.
So hang on, who are you asking? Sorry, you're asking Dash about the laxative.
Dash, yeah.
He says laxative.
Yep.
I don't really know anything about that,
Just get look.
He's a kind of street kid, so he's not sort of, wise to where to get pharmaceuticals.
Or something that makes you feel tremendously sick. I'm pretty sure that you've come across might be some bad glitter steam.
He says, oh, look, if I were to go and get that, well, one, it would be expensive. And, 2, I'd have to kind of deal with certain types that I don't normally deal with.
Nah, it's okay. Sounds complicated for you.
I could probably tell you where to go, but I don't know if I'd want to do it myself.
Could happen. Let's keep it in the back pocket. Wait to see how my companions fare in their objective.
Yep. So I guess you all arrive back now to the ship, hey?
Yeah. I'm playing Sabak with the kid.
Good news, bad news on the meeting of the,
No luck getting in the convoy.
Okay.
We do have the names of the captains in the ship.
Yeah.
I think the best approach might be to
Infiltrate.
indispose some crew members
Okay.
by a variety of means.
Vazier likes the idea of handcuffs.
handcuffs.
Yeah.
I do have a few little tricks in my
Right.
supplies. I still got the sleeping potion, remember?
Oh, wow, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Question with the sleeping potion is how long will it knock off a person?
We need to take out a few people too.
Well, that's what I was thinking, and it's not only taking them out; it's also making them so indisposed that they're not tempted to take them in.
You're going about this all wrong, darling. You just
Really, pray do tell.
just have to knock them out long enough to put them in very incriminating circumstances.
Oh.
I am just a deckhand, so I think you're overstating my intellectual capacity with your plotting device. So I'll leave this to you.
What ideas have you had, Gadriel?
Oh, I was just going to spill a laxative to a couple of people.
Good plan. So
It's not actually, but anyway.
So the current plan is some of the crew are beset with, a nasty tummy bug.
Yep.
I'm
And
sorry.
then
Space
And then-
space gastro, and when they have to leave because otherwise they're going to leave, they will lose their spot on the convoy.
so the four of you just show up, right? And
No,
bushy tail
just
up your service.
one or two is like, hey, do you need people? I'm stuck in a ship that is not going anywhere. Can I sign with you?
Let's keep it simple, but robust.
yes.
Dare I say the old Trojan horse theory?
Yes. Oh, what do you mean?
Actually, hold on.
Pamper.
Just turning up on their doorstep with a ship.
Jared, how difficult would it be to concoct a potion? Not a potion, a poison.
Oh, poison.
That's a good question. Have you got any points in was it medicine skill? Yeah.
That'd be Mary.
That'd be Mary.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where is Mary? God damn it, Mary!
Yeah,
She sort of blended into the background. She could be anyone, really. You don't know.
Literally.
I
Oh,
knew
dear.
Plot twist. Mary.
Is all the NPCs you've been talking about.
All of us. Maybe Mary is Gadriel.
Yeah, I do have nothing on medicine, honestly.
Yeah, so I think you're probably more going to have to source it from somebody else rather than, I mean, you could make a very, I suppose you could use intoxicants and kind of like crudely mix them into something and hope that it, isn't really, really obvious. But it's going to be pretty obvious. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go on source. So I got 3 in underworld. So roughly that means that I would know where to go and find the sort of less than reputable elements.
So knowledge underworld, I think you might know the sort of structures, but it's probably more streetwise to find it in the station kind of thing, like track somebody down that's going to sell it to you.
I got 3 streetwise too.
Yeah. And so it's probably, I'd say it'd be 3 purple, but you can have a blue from your connections with this Dash guy who can kind of introduce you to somebody.
Yep.
And use the light side point as well.
Okay.
But I'll flip one back the other way, so
Oh,
upgrade one of those to a red as well.
moot point then.
Yep. Well, ups the ante. That's interesting.
So Upgrade 1 difficulty. And did you say how many purples? Sorry?
So 3 purple and then 1 blue for the contact. So we gotta make it 1 red, 2 purple.
3 purples and 1 blue. So essentially 2 purples, 1 red. Yes?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's roll this baby.
Ooh, 2 successes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so you kind of make your way to this kind of more low down part of the station where it seems like there's a few more like kind of down on their luck kind of types that, maybe, maybe you're not too far off yourself, that use their money to get fuel out here and maybe don't quite have the fuel to get back, signed on with crews that, didn't profit as much as they'd hoped. But you kind of make your way to this kind of sort of steaming kind of booth where there's a guy kind of like serving up these kind of strange concoctions to, a bunch of aliens kind of standing around kind of haggling. Kind of Duros fellow, and he's got this kind of, shaggy kind of, brown kind of cowl on his head. And yeah, he sort of, you kind of make your introductions and, let him know what you need. And yeah, for probably 100 credits or so, he kind of, slides you something that can make someone, someone feel pretty sick if you get them to ingest it. That too many questions asked, yeah.
Said, how about you get me a second dose and I'll give you an interesting bit of information that may be.
He says, all right, I'm listening. Let's see the information first.
This fella, the Mandalorian, dark something.
Mm-hmm. He's a great man, a great man.
Wow.
One of the greatest.
Have you noticed that the people from the agency are getting more twitchy and getting more constrained in and more regulated in putting convoys together and shipping them out?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The reason is this guy is lost.
Maybe. That's what people say, but I think he'll come through. He'll come through.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Is this the information you have that he's not coming through?
Yeah, but I'm actually going to force power him.
All right, sure. What are you using?
I am going to use. Actually, no, that's not the right one. I am going to sense his thoughts and try to spin the tale that he wants to hear.
Right, okay. I guess in terms of sense his thoughts, it's probably more on what he's thinking at the time. So you can go ahead and roll for it. So
it's sort of like what sometimes the gypsies do in the street with you, like, oh, I sense a dark aura on you. Are you having problems with a male? No, a female. And they see how you react and they cold read you and they're like that. But
I think the only thing is you're kind of seeing a dodgy apothecary in an underworld station. He's basically doing a very similar thing to you, kind of thing, like, well, how can I get something else out of this person?
The difference is I'm using the force, so
it's true. It's true. Sure.
All right. So
you're making a kind of deception check with it as well, or you're just trying to read his thoughts, what he's thinking about?
Yeah, that would be a deception.
Yep.
Empower.
Yeah.
with,
Okay.
yeah, empowered with the force.
Yeah. Okay. So it'll be against 1 red, 1 purple.
There's nothing. Why not? Let's use 1 light side point.
Whoa. You killed it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you
Wow.
kind of you spin this guy's story about Dark Ages, who's a very interesting topic to everybody on this station. And he says, "Look, he'll give you 2 extra doses of this poison. You know, given that you're so knowledgeable on the topic and you've shared this information." And you kind of take that and head on your way. And what you sort of the only thing I guess as you're making your way through the crowds, you kind of so you're walking along, and then the kind of Dash comes and kind of like grabs your arm and sort of points out to you, and he says, you sort of can just see it off in the crowd, and he's, "Look, there, mister, that's one of the droids."
Oh.
And we'll stop there for tonight.
Out of the pot. Into the fire.
Yeah.